this is the image we're working on today. This is the before, this is the after, before, after, and we are going to be working with the new Retouch panel inside Photoshop. Now, the beauty about this Retouch panel is you can retouch this in the cloud and you don't need a powerful computer to do this. So it's going to send the image, your image, to the cloud with your specifications, with your requests in terms of which plugins you want applied to your image. Then it's going to go ahead and process it, and it's going to send it back to you, and it's going to then use one of your credits. So currently I have 217 credits, and that equals a retouch per credit. So I can either use the heal tool for one retouch, or I can use multiple and then click retouch, and it will apply multiple plugins to your image for one credit. So if you check in the description below, there'll be a discount for multiple additional credits for you to use utilizing my discount code. So please go ahead and utilize that. So today I wanted to show you very quickly how to use the retouch panel inside Photoshop. And yeah, it's very straightforward, and you can achieve this look very, very quickly. So, okay, let's go ahead, and I'm going to pull out this retouch panel onto the image here. I'm going to move this up so we can see all the layers. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete everything I've done so far. So let's delete all the way back. So this is our raw image. Now, what I want to do is show you how easy it is to clean this image up. So let's just go to full screen on this image so we can see exactly what we're working with. So this is a beauty image, and as you can see, the model has a few blemishes. She also has this scar here. She has quite a few moles, which I want to retain because it's really good to retain sort of a natural feel to images, and it's not that cool anymore to completely blur the skin and sort of take out all the features of the skin. Just before we get started, I just want to show you how you can get the Retouch for Me panel for your Photoshop. Now, I'm using Photoshop 2024 as of the making of this video. And if you go to the plugins and manage plugins, and if you go to search Creative Cloud, put in Retouch for Me, and you will get the Retouch for Me panel come up. Now, you can download this for free. It's completely free to download and install in your Photoshop. And all you'll be paying for are the Retouch for Me credits. So you can have as few as you want or as many as you want, depending on your project. So this is the Retouch for Me website, and this is the Photoshop panel. So again, you can download it from here if you prefer, and you can go through and see what it's all about on their website. So if we scroll down, you can see the different plans they have, and let's just click on here. So you can download 200 retouches for $20 a month, and $35 gets you 500 retouches, $90 gets you 1,500 retouches. Also, you can have the Cloud Retouch Packs, which are $16 for 100 retouches or $4 for 15 retouches. Now, I think by default, when you download this initially, your account it will give you 20 retouches for free. And yeah, go ahead and try it out. So if you don't want to pay for individual plugins because it's not cost effective for your projects, then I highly recommend checking out the Cloud Retouch. So let's jump back over to Photoshop, and I'll show you where we get started with this picture. Now, okay, so I want to apply on this heal. I want to apply mattifier, dodge and burn, portrait volumes, skin tone. Now, eye vessels, we touch it out the blood vessels in eyes, and I don't think we have many. Let's just have a quick look. Okay, let's just apply that anyway. Eye brilliance, let's just go for everything, and then you can see what works and what doesn't. Now, there's no clothes and there's no real backdrop visible. So we are going to go ahead and apply or click on the retouch button. Now, what it does, it goes ahead and uploads your image to the cloud. meaning it's not going to use your computer to process this image. It will then, in the cloud, it will apply these different plugins, and then it will send the image back once it's applied all the plugins. Now, as you can see, it went through all the different processes to apply those plugins. So we also get individual plugins on different layers. So what you can do is we can look at the image. Let's just zoom in and look at what has been applied. So portrait volumes, let's zoom out a little bit. So we can see that's given it a little bit more shape, a bit more depth. So we're going to leave that one as it is. Skin tone, that's just evened out the skin tones. So I'm happy with that. Dodge and burn. Now dodge and burn, that's worked incredibly well. So evened out those skin tones and it's created a much more sort of desirable look. Mattifier. Now mattifier has taken away the sheen, which I actually quite like. So what you can do is, if you're not too happy with the full-on look each of these plugins have given you, you can then go to the opacity and then you can dial it back. So I'm going to dial it back to about 20%. Initially that came in at 50%. So let's go to 100% and show you what happens. So that's obviously way too much. So at 20%, that's probably about right for me. And then heal, this is going to be the main one. So this is before, this is after, before and after. And if we zoom in, we can see how much work this has actually done. This is going to be the main plugin doing all the work. So as you can see, it's taken out all the blemishes. It's also taken out all the moles, but I quite like moles. So what we can do is, if we want to bring some of those back, we can apply a mask to that layer. And then what I like to do is just fade it back to about 50%. And then what we can do is, if we use black and a paintbrush, we can then paint over the moles we want to bring back. So we can just about see them. We just go down here to the ones on the body. So that brings those moles back. And then what we can do is we can go back to our opacity. Let's go back to here. So, all right, so turning it on and off, turning that layer on and off, we can now see that I have brought back some of those moles, and it gives it a much more sort of realistic look, which is, you know, much more my type of look. So that works for me quite well. Now, white teeth. So it's whitening the teeth a little bit too much for me. So let's click on that. We can dial back the opacity. So I think somewhere around 30%. That works for me quite well. Now, eye brilliance. Let's have a look at that. So again, I think that's a little bit too much. So let's dial that back. Let's come back down to about 20%. Let's turn that layer on and off. Yeah, I think that's subtle enough. That's more than enough for me. Now, eye vessels. So if we zoom in, we can see what this is actually doing. So eye vessels on and off. Yep, there's a little bit going on there. So what we're going to do is just leave that as it is. 100%, happy with that. Now that's pretty much it. But what if you want to retouch out maybe like a scar or something that's on this model's face? I mean, she had pretty good skin anyway. The blemishes were just emphasized by the light, and I wanted something a little bit more sort of contrasty, and obviously that emphasized the scar on her face. Now, some of you might quite like that. You might quite like to feature it. But I'm going to retouch it out. I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, what you would do is retouch it on a layer above all these layers, above all your plugins. So what we're going to do is select that top layer, the portrait volumes, right at the top. I'm going to click on Command Option Shift E. What that's going to do is create a new layer from all your layers below. So you can then turn off all these layers below. and you have this new layer which you can work on directly, and then you still have the option of all those layers below to still work live on the image. So what we're going to do now is use the lasso tool very quickly to go around this scar on her face. Now this is utilizing the Generative Fill inside Photoshop. Now this is aside from the Retouch for Me panel, but I'm just showing you how you can retouch sort of additional issues you might have with the skin. So again, lasso around that scar. I've got my feather set at 50 pixels. And then what you want to do is go up to your Generative Fill command, click on it, and I use a very generic term like remove and fill. Now that should work quite well. What it's going to do is going to just create a very smooth look for that skin. It's going to give you 3 different options. So let's have a look at the options it's given us. So this is the first one, second, third. So I'm probably going to go for the first one, looks the best. So let's just look at that. So for me, that is a pretty good finished look on that. Now, obviously you can go ahead and finesse this image even more. If you want to take out these creases on the neck, you could still use the Generative Fill and go ahead and do that. But in general, this is a very quick way of creating a really high-end look and finish to your images. Now, I highly recommend using the Retouch for Me panel in Photoshop, especially utilizing the cloud option. It's a very cost-effective way of retouching pictures. If you don't want to pay for high-end retouching and you want to just retouch one image, then this is absolutely the right option for you. So as I said before, I will leave a link in the description to some discounts. So please feel free to go ahead and utilize my code. It will give you additional credits. Hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing and ring that bell if you'd like to be notified of future videos. Plenty more coming soon. So stay tuned and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.